Whenever a team is struggling, the first solution that is thrown their way is to sign some new players and basically just buy your way out of your problems. This same advice is given to the teams who want to become elite. The reason why this statement of spending money to gain success is thrown around so much is because just look at the history books. Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Manchester United have all spent money to fix their problems. Or look at Chelsea, PSG, Man City, RB Leipzig, all of whom have become big by spending money. But sadly, if spending goes wrong, well, then it really goes wrong for the team. QPR, Leeds United, Malaga, Portsmouth, Dynamo Moscow, Anzhi Makhachkala. Remember when they were about to take over the world? Well, welcome to UW Football, and today we'll be looking at what happened to Anzhi Makhachkala. The year was 2011. Anzhi was bought by Dagestani businessman Suleiman Karimov, who promised that under his tenure, the club will spend £200 million on infrastructure and will have a yearly wage bill of £40 to £50 million. This was a big deal for Dagestan. The area was about to get international recognition in the sporting world. That did not happen on this occasion, but then Khabib Nurmagomedov became a thing and gave them just that. Now back to Anzhi. Karimov had a vision of making a club that lied for most of its history in the second division in Russia the biggest in the country. Within his first month of takeover, 4 Brazilian players were signed, which included Diego Tardelli and Roberto Carlos. Then came in Mubarak Basufa from Anderlecht. These were big signings for the club, but for the rest of the world, they were not headline worthy. Roberto Carlos was the biggest name of the 5, but he was 36 years old and his legs had pretty much ran out. That's why he played as a DM most of the time with Anzhi, and the other 4 players, as I mentioned, were just not big enough names. So in February, just about a month later, Karimov appointed Gus Hiddink as the club's manager, a very big name. However, in the summer, things changed. They signed Samuel Eto'o for €28 million. Now them signing a guy that had won 2 Champions League in the last 3 years and was still in his prime wasn't the insane part. The insane part was them paying Samuel Eto'o €23 million a year to play for the club, which was half of the entire wage bill that they had initially thought of. Now this drew a lot of eyes on the club, and their previous recruitment of Gus Hiddink and Roberto Carlos also started getting some attention. That season, Anzhi finished 5th in the Russian Premier League, which was good, but they wanted more. So in came Balázs Juszek from PSV Eindhoven. He was a decent talent. Yuri Zhirkov from Chelsea, Carcela Gonzalez from Standard Liège, Christopher Samba from Blackburn Rovers, who by the way turned down Arsenal for this move, but they weren't done here. They also signed Lassina Traore, Oleg Shatov and Lassana Diarra. That was a lot of new faces at the club. That season they finished 3rd, and bar the fact that they lost one of their new recruitment, Balázs Juszek, to Dynamo Moscow, it was all looking good for the club. Anzhi's eyes were now set on the Russian Premier League title. So in the summer of 2013, they spent insane amount of money yet again. Alexander Kokorin was signed for €17 million. Igor Denisov, a Russian footballing legend, was signed for just €13 million. And Willan, the Chelsea winger, came in from Shakhtar Donetsk for €30 million. Even though they had spent money in the transfer window, problems were starting to arise. Their wage bill now sat at £116 million, That's more than twice of what they had initially thought of. Their transfer fees too had exceeded the £200 million budget they had initially set out. So in August of 2013, the money was pulled. Three reasons were stated. Number one, the fall of the price-fixing cartel in Belarus saw Kerimov's wealth cut by billions. Number two, there was a new political party in charge of Dagestan, and since Kerimov wasn't all clean, he had now got bigger fish to fry. And lastly, it had been 2.5 years and the club had won absolutely nothing. And the manager Gus Hiddink, who had earned his millions, was no longer interested in living in the mountains, so he resigned and walked. So as a result, Kerimov lost interest in the club. He told the people to cut the wage bill to a third of what it initially was. And that's exactly what the club officials did. Kokorin, Denisov and Willan, the three players that they had signed in the summer, all left within 6 months with a combined 14 matches between them. And the rest, bar Lassina Traore, followed them out the door. That season, Anzhi finished bottom of the league with just 3 wins. Now in the second tier, Anzhi spent money yet again. This time it was nothing insane, but it was enough just so they can come back to the Russian Premier League, which they were able to achieve, and since then have lied in the lower mid-table of the Russian Premier League. And Kerimov, the owner, well, in 2016 he sold the club completely without fulfilling his aim of making Anzhi the biggest club in Russia. So yeah, this is what happened to Anzhi Makhachkala. Like if you enjoy, subscribe, and I will see you soon.